Henry Cavill's dream of bringing Warhammer 40,000 to life might be over before it even begins. So why is the Warhammer universe at risk of being cancelled? Well, it seems Amazon has made some behind-the-scenes moves to diversify the lore, and this has left not just the fans but even Henry Cavill himself furious. Did Amazon really go behind Cavill's back to alter one of his favorite factions? And why are these changes so controversial that Henry might walk away from the entire project? Stay tuned as we dive into the biggest clash between Hollywood's creative decisions and fan culture yet. Hey everyone, welcome back to Movie Saga. If you're new here and you enjoy in-depth explorations of entertainment controversies and updates, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any updates on major stories like this one. Now, while I'm definitely not Henry Cavill, today we're going to explore why he's found himself in a serious conflict with Amazon over their upcoming Warhammer 40,000 series. You might already know that Henry is an avid Warhammer fan. He's got the passion, the lore knowledge, and the fan base to back him up. He was set to not only star in the series but also produce it, shaping an entire Warhammer Cinematic Universe with movies for theaters and streaming series. However, things seem to be falling apart before filming has even started. There are major creative differences between Cavill and Amazon, and these differences could threaten to scrap the whole project. So let's get into what's causing the tension and why Henry Cavill's dream Warhammer project could end before it even begins. We've got fresh reports on what's causing the tension, and let me tell you, it's not looking good. We'll dive into the details and figure out why Henry's clashing so much with Amazon and why they seem to be equally frustrated with him. But first, let's get into why Amazon chose Henry Cavill in the first place. The answer seems obvious. Henry's not only an incredible actor with a massive following, but let's be real. The guy is ridiculously popular with fans of all types. Men are obviously drawn to him for reasons we all can understand. And while it's fun to look at all the wild comments people make about his looks, there's more to it. It's not just women who are fans of Henry, men admire him too, though for different reasons. One of the biggest reasons guys relate to him is because he's unapologetically a nerd. Henry doesn't shy away from his love for gaming or his obsession with different franchises. That's one of the key factors behind why Amazon picked him to lead this Warhammer project. He's not just another celebrity, they needed someone who was both relatable and passionate, and Henry fits that bill perfectly. He's not only widely respected among both men and women, but also someone who genuinely loves gaming and, more importantly, has a deep connection to the Warhammer universe itself. So, here we have Henry Cavill, tall, handsome, buff, rich, charismatic, and surprisingly to some, a massive nerd who loves Warhammer. With all of that going for him, Amazon probably thought they had the perfect guy to spearhead their Warhammer Cinematic Universe. Henry doesn't fit the typical nerd stereotype, but rather than spending his free time at glamorous events, he's at home gaming for hours. That's what makes him so relatable to fans. But it's not just casual gaming. For everyone who questions how much of a Warhammer fan Henry really is, he's made it crystal clear over the years. He's not only playing the games, he's reading the books, collecting the miniatures, and even painting them himself. Yes, Henry Cavill, the Hollywood superstar, actually sits down and paints Warhammer figures. If you follow him on Instagram, you've probably seen him showing off his detailed paintwork. One of the figures he shared recently was an Adeptus Custodes miniature in stunning golden battle armor. Now here's where things get interesting. The Adeptus Custodes are Henry's favorite faction in Warhammer. That detail matters because the Custodes are right at the center of the current conflict between Henry and Amazon. This drama, which has been brewing behind the scenes for months, has gotten so intense that it could lead to the entire Warhammer Cinematic Universe being scrapped before it even gets off the ground. The tension really began when Games Workshop, the creators of Warhammer, introduced a major change that sparked outrage among hardcore fans. They decided to add female Adeptus Custodes to the lore, claiming that Custodes could be any gender. This move caused an immediate backlash, with passionate Warhammer fans coming after Games Workshop. Why? Well, the issue lies in the fact that the Custodes have always been depicted as an all-male faction. According to decades of established lore, fans are deeply invested in this world, and they've spent years immersing themselves in its stories, characters, and history. So when Games Workshop suddenly decided to retcon the lore and introduce female Custodes, it didn't sit well with fans at all. People quickly pointed out how the codexes, the rulebooks that define Warhammer's world, had always described the Custodes as male, and every piece of artwork has depicted them as men in armor. This wasn't just a superficial detail either. The lore stated that only male children from royal families were chosen to serve the Emperor of Mankind, making it a critical part of the faction's history. So a few months back, Games Workshop didn't just introduce female Adeptus Custodes into the lore, they went a step further and claimed that female Custodes had always existed. This bold retcon to one of the most iconic and beloved factions in the Warhammer universe created an immediate uproar among fans. The backlash was massive, with Warhammer's most loyal and passionate followers taking to social media to voice their outrage. And this wasn't just a small, vocal group, it was significant enough that it led to a sharp decline in Games Workshop stock, as many fans chose to boycott the company over the changes. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. One of those die-hard Warhammer fans who took issue with this change is none other than Henry Cavill himself. Warhammer is Henry's favorite franchise, and he's been extremely vocal about his love for the Adeptus Custodes. In fact, he's hinted on multiple occasions that they are his favorite faction. So when the lore around the Custodes was retconned, it didn't just create drama online, it created serious tension behind the scenes of the Warhammer show Amazon was developing with Henry at the helm. To make matters worse, it turns out that this controversial change to the lore wasn't even Games Workshop's idea. Reports started surfacing that Amazon had pressured Games Workshop into introducing female Custodes. Why? So they could include them in their Warhammer show and still claim the series was faithful to the lore. The kicker: Henry had no idea any of this was happening. Once he found out, he was reportedly furious. Amazon didn't stop at female Custodes, they also pushed for the inclusion of female Space Marines. Another lore-breaking move that Henry was kept in the dark about. Now, for those who may not understand why Amazon was so insistent on these changes, here's the explanation. Amazon, like many big entertainment companies these days, has strict guidelines when it comes to diversity in their projects. These diversity quotas are set to ensure that every show or movie meets certain criteria for representation. The problem is, these quotas often lead to decisions being made based on meeting certain metrics rather than hiring the best people for the job or staying true to the source material. For Amazon, that meant pushing for at least 50% female representation in their Warhammer show. Even if it meant altering the lore to fit that goal, they also have quotas for racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity. And every showrunner working with Amazon is required to meet these standards both on screen and behind the scenes. Like every Amazon project, Henry Cavill's Warhammer show was required to follow their guidelines, which mandate that at least 50% of the characters in cast must be women, and another 50% must be from underrepresented racial, ethnic, or cultural groups. So despite Warhammer being one of the most brutally intense and male-dominated franchises out there, Amazon still wanted it to meet their diversity quotas. And that's where things started to go wrong. To make this happen, Amazon pressured Games Workshop to add female Custodes to the Warhammer lore, a faction that had been all male since their creation. The intention was clear: they wanted these female Custodes to be featured prominently in the show so it could meet their diversity metrics. The kicker? They did it all behind Henry Cavill's back, knowing full well that Henry is a massive fan of the franchise and would never agree to these changes. Amazon made their move in secret, ensuring that Games Workshop retconned the lore first. That way, if anyone including Henry pushed back on the decision, Amazon could point to the updated lore and claim that female Custodes had always existed. It was a calculated move, and a pretty dirty one at that. They knew Henry would oppose it because he's a die-hard fan who truly cares about the authenticity of the Warhammer universe. So when he eventually found out what had happened, it's no surprise that he was furious. And this is where the drama really kicks off. For Henry, being given the opportunity to produce a Warhammer show was more than just a career milestone, it was a dream come true. He's been very open about how much he loves the franchise and how important it is to him to create something that's faithful to the source material. He wanted to give fans an authentic, accurate adaptation that stayed true to the world of Warhammer. But Amazon had other plans. They were focused on fulfilling their diversity quotas, even if it meant sacrificing the accuracy of the show. Now, with Henry and Amazon at odds, the future of the entire Warhammer Cinematic Universe hangs in the balance. Henry doesn't want to compromise on his vision, and Amazon isn't backing down from their diversity requirements. If they can't find common ground, there's a very real chance that the show and the entire Warhammer universe that Amazon had planned could be scrapped altogether. And for a fan as passionate as Henry, it seems like he's willing to walk away from the project if it means preserving the integrity of the franchise he loves. And as if the female Custodes weren't enough, there are probably a lot of other changes Amazon is pushing for because of these diversity quotas. These forced changes would undoubtedly make this adaptation unfaithful to the Warhammer lore, and that's exactly why Henry Cavill is in this ongoing battle with Amazon. It's turned into a massive mess that now threatens not just this one show, but the entire Warhammer Cinematic Universe Amazon had in mind. If they don't come to an agreement soon and settle these creative differences, we could be looking at the cancellation of the entire project before it even begins. But here's the thing, Henry seems more than willing to risk losing out on the chance of having a Warhammer universe at all, rather than giving in to changes that would compromise the authenticity of the story. And honestly, I'm with him 100%. He's standing up for what matters most to him, the integrity of a franchise he's loved for years. And by doing that, he's standing up for all of us, the fans who want to see Warhammer done right. So let's take a moment to salute Henry Cavill. He's not just playing heroes on screen, he's proving to be a real-life hero in this situation as well. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you still want the Amazon Warhammer show to happen, even with all these potential changes? Or are you on Henry's side, willing to see the whole project scrapped if it means saving the soul of the franchise? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and helps keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care and let's keep the Warhammer universe true to its roots.